This isn't just some weird little sect thing that a few people are doing. These girls are systematically being mutilated as a stalwart part of this culture. It's awful. I don't know if you can see this. This is a woman's genitals. I'll try to orient you to it. It's a little bit hard to see. Here is the slit where the labia should be, okay? The clitoris would be about here. What they do is they completely cut out the clitoris, okay? And then they sew this all up. This would be the vaginal opening here. If you can see right there, there's a little darkness right there. That is actually the remaining opening that they leave to the vagina. That's it. It's, you know, it's like that. It's nothing. And then right here is the anus. It's about the same size. Why do they do this? Why cut out the clitoris? Because the clitoris is the center of sensation, of sexual sensation for a woman. It's the center of where the orgasmic sensation comes from. They cut it out so that a woman can never, ever, ever feel any sexual pleasure. If a woman can't feel any sexual pleasure, what risk is reduced for the man? Adultery, exactly. There's no physical pleasure from sex, so why would a woman go out elsewhere looking for sex from another man if there's absolutely no pleasure in it? But it's not just that. It's not just the fact that there's no pleasure. This is the vagina. Yeah. Copulation happens in that big. With this sewn up, can you imagine the excruciating pain? I don't know. I'm not married. But I would have to think that that would be excruciating pain. So not only is sex completely devoid of pleasure, it's excruciatingly painful. And then the question is, well, what happens when they give birth? Well, there's an episiotomy done right here. This is opened back up. She gives birth. Then they sew her back up. This, and think of the filth here, okay? So the urethra is going to be somewhere up around in here, the urethra opening. How does urination happen? She urinates behind this closure. It flows down behind the closure and comes out at this opening right here, which means that there's always a harbor of urine and to some extent menstrual blood getting caught up in here. You're going to argue that this has anything to do with cleanliness, and that's what they do. Like male circumcision. They argue, oh, it's about cleanliness. Bull. This is filthy. This is going to be just a nest and a hive of infection, urinary tract infection. Disgusting. The last point. Here is the vaginal opening. Here is the anus. About the same. Why is that? Because these men are taught that anal sex with a young boy is the epitome of sexual pleasure. So they do this to their wives so that when they are forced to have sex with their wives, filthy women, that the sensation to them is similar to that of anal sex with a young boy. Yeah. And we're letting these bastards build mosques. We're going to bow to this, and they're doing this to 90-some-odd% of their women. Yeah, it's awful. You have to understand this. You have to spread this data around. This is on Google. Just go on Google, do a Google image search, female genital mutilation. There it is. Okay? This is a clitorectomy. Here's her clitoris and her labia, which have been cut out. And they proudly post this on the internet because they're proud of this. I had a woman at the last speech I did with Mara. There was a lady in the front row who said, well, do they anesthetize them? Does she look like she's being anesthetized? There he is. She's being held down with her legs splayed open, and he's got a razor blade, and he's doing it to her. Do you think she's been anesthetized? Hell no. That would take all the fun out of it, wouldn't it? Sons of bitches. This is an Indonesian child. How old? It's done anywhere from infancy to age 15. Most of it is done between the ages of, they say most of it's done between the ages of 7 and 11, because they really want it to hurt, and they want them to remember it. Fight this with every fiber of your being. There will be no surrender. It's them or us. It's them or us. And here is this lady, she looks to be a teenager, again, being held down, screaming in agony. You can only imagine. Evil. It's evil. There's no other word. There is no compromise, nothing. It is evil. Islamic hatred of women has led to rampant homosexuality. You talk to MPs that have served any time over in the Mideast, anywhere in any Islamic country or culture, be it Arab or African or further east, they say the same thing. Number one challenge in setting up detention camps is keeping those guys off of each other. Absolutely. They are all over each other. Homosexuality is rampant in the Muslim culture. And we'll talk about later why nobody discusses this. Islam teaches by fatwa that only a submissive homosexual sins. Do you understand what I mean when I say submissive? The female equivalent partner. The dominant inserting partner is considered not to be homosexual and not committing a sin. The submissive partner is considered to be the sinner. So it goes on all the time. Oh, the killing of al-Zarqawi. Do you remember al-Zarqawi? He was the guy who really liked to cut people's heads off on video. Bastard. We finally got him. Do you know how we got him? The Thursday Night Club. In this, I believe they were in Afghanistan, and they had set up camp, and there's this cadre of them. And, you know, they all hate women and they all love men. So what they did is they had this Thursday night club, and they would take turns dressing up in drag. And they would have male orgies every Thursday night like clockwork. The way they reasoned themselves out of this is they found an imam there locally to issue a fatwa. A fatwa is a religious declaration. Any imam can issue any fatwa. There is no central organizational structure in Islam whatsoever. And if you'd like to get into a discussion with me about the glories and virtues of Catholicism, here it is. Because we have the magisterium, we have the Pope, the buck stops. Now there's people who can say things that are all kinds of wrong, but there is a central teaching authority that can say, no, that is not right. You are saying something that is wrong. I wish they'd be more aggressive, but I digress. So, with Islam, there's no such thing. Every imam is his own pope. Every imam can issue a fatwa, a religious declaration. They found a clearly homosexual imam there locally to issue a fatwa, and I kid you not, I am not making this up. The fatwa stated that on Thursday nights, Allah was busy and couldn't see what you were doing. I am not kidding. Do you see what I'm talking about when I say how stupid Islam is? It's stupid. Allah is busy. He cannot see what you are doing on Thursday nights. So as long as you have your male homosexual orgy club on Thursday nights, everything's fine because Allah can't see you. That's how they got him. They all go sauntering into the Thursday night club. Here comes the daisy cutter or whatever they used. They killed him. Praise God. Man-boy pedophilia, a near universal Muslim phenomenon. Like we've already talked about this. These guys are taught that the ultimate sexual experience is having sex with a young boy, orally and or anally. That's the pinnacle for them. This is not just something that's specific to Saudi Arabia. It's the entire Muslim world, from Morocco to Indonesia. This is a universally taught standard.
Here in the U.S. as well?
Well, if they get their way, why do you think that they're trying to normalize pedophilia through the American Psychological Association? Did you hear about that?
No.
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, they had a meeting in Baltimore. They are taking the initial steps to remove pedophilia from the American Psychological Association's Manual of Disorders, the same way they did with homosexuality in, I believe it was 1973. They are looking to do exactly the same thing right now with pedophilia. They want to normalize pedophilia. The new meme that they're going to use is minor attracted persons. Why are they doing this? Because if you have Sharia law in this country, and Hillary Clinton and the UN, they're trying to do all this, okay? You have to clear the deck for pedophilia because child rape and child marriage is a core plank of Islam. They're trying to clear the deck from it, and they're a bunch of Marxist bastards too. And they just want to destroy any notion of morality that they possibly can. So when people said, look, if we let this homosexuality thing get into our culture, Katie bar the door, man, they weren't kidding. Here we are. We're only a few months removed from this homosexual marriage nonsense going on. Now we have moving to normalize pedophilia. Next will be incest, because incest is huge in Islam. Bestiality is huge in Islam. It's all going to go. And these things are all starting to happen as well in Europe. There are movements in Europe already to legalize incest and to legalize bestiality. You fight or you die. That's your choice.
Buy more ammo.
That's right. Long guns and ammo. We've all seen this classic image of this perverted imam kissing this boy on the mouth. Yeah, this is normal. These madrasas, these schools that these boys go to, they're just sex shops. These imams and these teachers come into these madrasas, and it's just free reign over these boys. You ever wonder why are they so eager to commit suicide? Well, you know what? I bet if you'd spent your entire childhood being raped, you'd probably be despairing and suicidal too, looking for something better. Yeah. The other thing I also want to point out is that the usurper, Obama, attended these madrasas in Indonesia as a child. I would not doubt at all that he was probably sexually abused some way or another. He was also, I don't know if you know this or not either, his Indonesian nanny was a transsexual. I'm not kidding. So, and we all know Obama is, of course, homosexual. Where does that come from? It comes from this. That Muslim culture, yeah, it's no surprise at all. So, you have total gender segregation. Boys are kept completely separated from girls. Boys never see, talk to, have anything to do with any females except their sisters. And then when they get to a certain age, they're permitted sometimes to act as chaperones for their cousins, and a lot of times Muslims end up marrying their cousins. But in childhood, there's total gender segregation. Okay, so you've got what? A 12, 13, 14-year-old boy. Puberty is kicking in. The sex hormones are starting to kick in. The sex drive is starting to kick in. There's absolutely no outlet anywhere for any of this. There's no healthy interaction with girls. What do? The older boys turn to the younger boys. And so this culture of abuse is just everywhere. We've already talked about the madrasas, the bachabazi. Have you ever heard of bachabazi in Afghanistan? It's an auction. They dress up little boys, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old boys. They dress them up in drag. They put them in makeup, women's dancing clothes, like kind of belly dancing clothes. And then they have basically what amounts to an auction, like a livestock auction. That's exactly what it looks like. There is a ring. These men are all sitting around this ring, and one at a time, they run these terrified little boys into this ring, dressed up in drag, force them to dance like women, and those bastard men sit there and bid on them. And whoever wins the bid takes that boy home and rapes him. It's called bachabazi. There's been, actually on PBS, Frontline did an exhaustive expose of bachabazi a few years ago. It's available online. Watch it. Only watch it once, but watch it. It is awful. You just want to grab those boys and kiss them and hug them and get them the hell out of there. Because you know what's coming, and you know what it's doing to their souls. Do we love these people?